just rolled into Padre Island, right off the shore of Corpus Christi, and I'll tell you something. If you wander around Texas campgrounds long enough, you almost have to run into these guys. Look who we bumped into. Hey guys! We've known Tom and Stacie Langland, better known to the RV community as RV Texas Y'all, electronically for a couple of years. But this campground on Padre Island marks the first place that we've ever met in person. Fans of their popular YouTube channel, website, and social media will appreciate knowing that they are every bit as endearing in person as they are in front of the camera. What you see on the screen is precisely what you get in person. We're going to share all sorts of sights and sounds across Padre Island and its namesake National Seashore in this episode, the way that we usually do. But we first want to introduce RV Texas Y'all to our grand adventurers. So, look who we ran into. We're here in Corpus Christi on Padre Island, just north of the National Seashore. And we are actually camping with RV Texas Y'all. Some of you folks may be familiar with their channel. I'm sure most of you folks are familiar with their channel. But for those who aren't, Tom and Stacie, tell us all about RV Texas Y'all.
Great, yeah. So we're Tom and Stacie Langland, and we have RV Texas Y'all here on YouTube, and we also have the website rvtexasyall.com. On our channel, we do a variety of things. We do our travel vlogs, mostly in Texas, but sometimes beyond the state line.
Especially lately.
Lately, we did a 2-month trip up to the Dakotas and Yellowstone and all of that.
We took Stacie's mom along, Grammy K.
K.
Yes,
that was fun.
She was the star of the show.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt. She's not shy by any stretch of the imagination. And so, you know, when we're in Texas, we focus a lot on campgrounds, things like state parks and you know, a few RV parks, but mostly more natural areas. And then we also, but our website, we have it's basically like a resource for folks who might be traveling in Texas. Festivals and fun things to do, places you can stay with your RV, tips and that type of stuff.
And it was very helpful to us in our planning for this trip down through Texas. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you. We appreciate it.
Now, how did you guys find the camping to be different on this 2-month trip that you just took as opposed to your usual stomping grounds in Texas?
Yeah, well, it was a lot different because most of the places where we camped, it was boondocking. You know, and in Texas, most, even the state parks and stuff that we go in have some kind of hookups, you know. So I didn't ever envision that being my main form of camping like you. I mean, boondocking I know is 90% of what you do, if not more, but I loved it. We loved it.
That's fantastic.
We realized it's so much easier. I mean, you pull in, you get level, you put out the slides, you're ready to go.
Right.
And then when you're ready to leave, I mean, you put in the slides and you go. I mean, you don't have to worry about hooking up and unhooking. And I really like the management of my black tanks and stuff, and the tanks and the fresh water every day.
Resources.
Yeah, and the batteries. I mean, that was it added a new dimension for us.
In fact, it was funny because we did a better part of a month where we did nothing but dry camping.
Right.
And at the end of that, when we stayed in an RV park and we had electric, we almost forgot to unplug before we pulled out.
Oh, yeah.
You know? It's like I was doing my final check of everything and we're ready to go. And I went, wait, it's plugged in.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting how you just can get in these routines, especially when you're full-timing or long-timing like y'all do a lot of. And because if you do something for a long period of time and then all of a sudden you change for a few days, it's like, whoa, got to double check everything again. That's a tip out there, you know. you always go through your checklist, you know, because you just never. I mean, it's real easy to get out of the routine when you change that routine for 2 or 3 weeks. So
we've experienced the opposite on that because we're so used to boondocking that we're not used to dealing with the hookups and hooking up our sewer hose and remembering, all right, I need to close the gray valve tonight when I shower so that way I've got some flush water for the hose and when I dump the black in the morning before we leave and stuff like that. So, and for you guys, it's a little bit different because you're traveling in a Tiffin Class A.
Right.
As opposed to us, of course, we're working with a travel trailer. So.
Right. And we went with the smallest diesel pusher we could find because we still wanted to camp in national parks and things like that and have the maximum number of options. So we're actually 31 and a half feet. It's a Tiffin Breeze. And so, yes, it's a diesel pusher, but we're kind of a baby diesel pusher.
No, it's a beautiful rig. It really is. And I got to tell you guys, if you haven't yet checked out their channel, make sure that you do so because their personality comes through in their videos better than just about any RV travelers that I've ever met.
Wow.
And I'm telling you, these folks in person are exactly the same people you see on YouTube.
Well, and so is Mark. I have to tell you, and his wife.
That's right.
We've really enjoyed this time with you guys.
Likewise.
Yes.
We really looked forward to this when we knew that they were coming to Texas. We were so excited. We thought we have to find a way to meet up with you guys, and it's been such a pleasure. I mean,
and you folks are witnesses that Mrs. Grand Adventure really does exist.
She does exist.
It's true.
Yeah, she definitely exists. I think Mark outpunted his coverage on that.
Well, we're going to show you around Padre Island and Padre Island National Seashore. So come along. So once again, our plans to boondock right on the beach have been thwarted by the South Texas heat. It is hotter than hell this week. This is right back here. That's actually the start of the sand road. And you're allowed to camp right on the beach. But it's been so hot. Actually, Tom and Stacie got here a day before we did and went into the Malachite campground, which is a dry campground within the Padre Island National Seashore. They said they were okay till about midnight. Problem is, the breeze shut off. The overnight lows have been right around 80, and it's just not cooling down. So we are back in a campground with electrical and water. We are actually in the Padre Balli County Park. Now, we told you last week in the episode from South Padre Island, we told you about Padre Balli. He was the first Western settler of this area, where he opened up a cattle ranch on these islands. But for now, we're hanging out in the county park. It's not the most attractive campground in the world. I'll be the first person to admit that. But like they say in real estate, it's all about 3 things: location, location, and location. And this location could not be any better. We're paying $25 a night until things cool off. Now, we are hopeful that there's a cold front coming in around Friday in a few days that we'll be able to move to boondocking on the beach and do so with comfort. And we are really excited about bringing you guys there. We're really excited about bringing ourselves there. So we're hoping it works out. But in the meantime, we're going to show you all around the Padre Island National Seashore, the surrounding towns of Port Aransas, Corpus Christi, and we'll get the most that we can out of this area. In contrast to South Padre Island from our last episode, known for its beaches and vacationing college students, Padre Island National Seashore is comprised of 65 miles of undeveloped Barrier Island seacoast on North Padre Island, the longest preserved Barrier Island coastline in the world. Most of the park is primitive, accessible only to four-wheel drive vehicles. Managed by the National Park Service, Padre Island National Seashore hosts a variety of pristine beaches, dunes, and tidal flats. It's home to world-class bird watching, kayaking, and camping. Although there are dry campgrounds adjacent to the Malachite Visitor Center and at Bird Island Basin, dispersed boondocking is permitted along nearly all of the Gulf Beach. Just north of our campground, a small bridge connects Padre Island to Mustang Island, home to the town of Port Aransas, the only established town on the island, and a popular home for Gulf Coast pirates in the early 19th century. Local lore tells of pirate treasure buried in Port Aransas, supposedly marked by a Spanish silver dagger. Herds of wild horses rambled over plush rangelands of the island when British Captain Robert Ainsworth Mercer established a sheep and cattle ranch here in the 1850s, lending their name to the island. Port Aransas is still recovering from major damage as a result of the landfall of Hurricane Harvey in August 2017, with wind speeds of 132 miles per hour. With over 325,000 residents, nearby Corpus Christi is the 8th largest city in Texas and boasts a beautiful bayfront location. The city has one of the highest average wind speeds of coastal cities in North America, making the city an important destination for wind sports, such as kiteboarding, windsurfing, kite flying, and sailing. The city is home to a number of popular tourist attractions, particularly on North Beach, where the Texas State Aquarium and the USS Lexington Museum on the Bay are located. Returning to our campsite after exploring the area, we're opting to stop for dinner at Snoopy's Pier, a landmark casual seafood restaurant right on the Gulf Intracoastal Waterway, adjacent to the John F. Kennedy Causeway that connects Padre Island to the mainland. So we did it! The front came through, dropped the temperature 20 degrees, and we are camping right on the beach. This is amazing. You know, this is the reason we came to the Texas coast, was to be able to do this, and the heat was keeping us from doing it. Now we're back to what we love, boondocking. We're on North Beach, within the Padre Island National Seashore. You're allowed to dispersed camp here along the beach for up to 14 days per stay, and no more than 28 days in one calendar year. It's essential to keep an eye on the winds, the surf, and especially the tides. But virtually any size rig can get out here, because the sand below the waterline is really surprisingly firm. It's not much different than driving on a dirt road, and we didn't have to air down our tires or even switch to four-wheel drive to be able to drive or tow on the beach. Now, before folks start flooding us with comments about flying our drone on a national seashore, we made this flight completely legal by taking off from and landing back on land actually outside of the boundary of what's managed by the National Park Service. So this is absolutely spectacular. Camping right on the beach within the Padre Island National Seashore. Now, just to make things a little extra exciting, the National Weather Service overnight issued a coastal flood advisory. Apparently, with the winds we've been experiencing behind this cold front and the unusually high, astronomical high tides, actually overnight we did have the waves lap underneath the trailer a little bit, and it's going to be a little bit higher at this afternoon's high tide. We're going to see how this goes. Everything is just a grand adventure when you're out here on the road. On the opposite side of Padre Island from our camp at North Beach, Laguna Madre, which separates the island from the mainland, is an ideal place to enjoy water sports, including windsurfing and kayaking. With Gulf of Mexico waves exceeding 6 feet during our visit, launching our kayak from camp is out of the question. But over here, the waters of Laguna Madre are placid and surprisingly shallow. Salt marshes provide fascinating places to paddle and explore. There's a boat ramp for larger vessels and a dry National Park Service campground that can accommodate the largest rigs for $8 per night. Folks here truly take their fishing seriously. Very seriously. So I did my best to reinforce everything and stack some sand up against our blocks to make sure that it was a little more resistant to the erosion. But you can see where the water came up, it actually stayed further back from the trailer than last night. It had just got one little tongue of one wave kind of came up under the chair, and that was about it. You can see the water line just barely stayed away from the trailer. So we really hope that you've enjoyed coming along with us to Padre Island National Seashore. This has been one of the highlights of our trip through Texas. Next up, we're going to be heading for Rockport, Texas. But in the meantime, next week, we're going to spend an episode sharing with you these little wireless battery-powered security cameras that we mounted on the rig for this trip. We're sure you're going to find that interesting, so if you're not yet a grand adventurer, make sure you hit that little red subscribe button, the one right down there in the lower right corner of your screen, and ring that notification bell so you get instant notification of each new episode of Grand Adventure as we premiere it. Now, we always love to hear from you in the comments section down below each video, but also down below, please, if you like this video, be sure to give us a big thumbs up. And also, we would love for you to share Grand Adventure with your friends, family, and on social media. Until next week, please remember, life is nothing but a grand adventure. We'll see you then.